Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm down here at Evolve Automotive and I'm with my G80 M3 Competition X-Drive because they're going to fit an Eventuri air intake. Not only that, they're also replacing the standard and fairly ordinary looking engine strut brace with a carbon fiber one made by a company called Aston. All of the details for both of those products will be in the description below. Evolve Automotive don't really need any introduction. They have a massive and growing YouTube channel, which there'll be a link below obviously, and a huge BMW collection. Imran is an absolute petrol head and has a BMW obsession. In fact, most of the cars that he owns are cars that I would have if I could afford to. They're just absolutely stunning. For those of you long-term viewers, you'll know that I have an Eventuri intake fitted to my M2 Competition. I actually had it fitted here about 3 years ago. There's three main reasons why I love that system so much. Number one are the performance gains. The way the engine picks up and the throttle response compared to a stock system is night and day. And now I've had that in my car for about 3 years. When I jump in a stock M2 Competition, I can notice it immediately. Number two is sound, the induction sound that you hear from inside the cabin or outside the car. And number three, well, that's aesthetics. They look absolutely stunning, and it's almost a shame that a bonnet has to cover up all of that beautiful artwork that lies and hides beneath. Let's not waste any more time and get this car inside where Aston and Hash will install the Eventuri and the beautiful Hexon carbon brace. We'll watch that process, and then afterwards we can chat to Bilal about Eventuri. Right then guys, I hope you enjoyed that little montage of everything being fitted. Hopefully the camera does it some justice because I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. The intake itself is beautiful, as I'd expect, because I've had one in my M2 for about 3 years now. And also the strut brace from Hexon looks beautiful. They really complement each other. All I need now is a replacement engine bay cover, but hopefully that will come in the future at some point if someone decides to make one. Let me introduce you to Bilal. Bill is business partner with Imran, who I've had on the channel many times before, and they both own and run Eventuri together. So welcome to the channel, mate. Thanks for taking the time.
No problem, my pleasure. Let me just go back a little bit with Eventuri and M3s in particular. So the E46 M3 was our second ever intake, which was designed when Eventuri began. And then the F-Series M3 launched Eventuri worldwide. So that's when our US distributor, IND, launched us in the US. And I could say that was like the turning point of Eventuri as a globally recognized brand.
Sure.
So for us, the G Series M was really important. It was really significant because the F Series launched us, so we needed to do something really special for this platform, because I think all eyes were on us with the success we had with the previous F Series M3 intake.
Sure.
So I literally went back to the drawing board and wanted to just build this system from the ground up and make sure every single component was absolutely optimal for this engine. And one of the things we did was we actually commissioned brand new filters for this intake specifically.
Yep.
So we had other filters we could have gone to, which we have on the shelf and manufactured, but one was quite small in terms of the space available, and the other one was too big. So we thought, why not commission a brand new filter to make use of the space in
Yep.
the G Series? So we did that, and then literally every single component has been designed to be absolutely the best we could make it for this engine.
I mean, it's unreal. Obviously, earlier on we laid all the parts out before it was fitted, and just, I mean, I was saying to Imran actually that it's almost, for me, if I had the money, I would have my lamps made out of these. And I mean, it's honestly the detail in each and every single part is incredible. That's before you get behind and talk about the science of what it gives the car in terms of the actual fit and finish. And I did talk about this, and I've talked about it many times with my M2 system. It's such a shame that this thing covers that up all the time, because it's just such a beautiful piece of art. It really is a piece of art. And the filters themselves, which you were just talking about, they just look amazing. And once again, I think the filter in this sort of cone shape intake looks very much like a very high-end speaker system or something.
Well, that's actually our patented design.
Right.
So we have a patent on that configuration.
Yep.
So how the filter is mounted in a reverse fashion inside that housing, and the way the housing sort of tapers down nicely from the large mouth of the filter down to the smaller tube.
Yep.
That is something we've patented.
Right, okay.
And it basically provides the engine, or the turbos in this case, with a less restrictive and a more freer flowing path, airflow path, when using cone filters. So that sort of lends itself to that sort of organic shape.
Yep.
So everything here is very organically shaped. There are no sharp corners or bends. So we always design for function.
Yep.
But the way we do that, it lends itself to form.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So it looks nice in the end. And, and you know, that's just a byproduct of the way everything is designed to flow nicely.
Sure.
You know, as in nature, everything is designed for a function, and then it looks beautiful because it's so perfectly done.
Sure. As we know, that engine is capable of so much power, and I know that you guys will be developing your Mint M4 over the next few months. But having the intake there is incredible. And am I right in thinking that it's kind of, you've designed this one to be future-proof as well?
Yeah. So basically, knowing what the engine is capable of, we know straight away people have been going for those high-powered builds, you know, bigger turbos, or even with the stock turbos, really maximizing the tune side of things and getting loads of power out of these.
Yep.
And that's already starting to happen. People are, you know, really ramping up those horsepower numbers. So we wanted to design an intake which was capable of flowing much higher demands, which is why we maximized the volumes and everything. So there wouldn't be a restriction when you go up to the crazy 1,000 horsepower level figures. So this intake is future-proof in that sense.
Right.
The actual so because we've gone all the way to the turbos, even when people have hybrid turbos with different inlet sizes, those two turbo inlets have been manufactured so that they're much easier to reproduce with a different diameter.
Yep.
So it's not like the whole intake is junk if you change the turbos. It's literally just those two connections.
Like adapters almost,
which can be just, you know, redesigned and remade for that turbo.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it is future-proof. The filters and the size of everything can handle huge numbers.
Okay. It's been awesome having you on the channel, Bill. I really appreciate your time. And like I said at the beginning of the video, make sure, if you don't already, because it's a massive channel nowadays, check out Evolve's YouTube channel. There's a link below in the description, and Bilal and Imran are on it a lot actually, and they get very geeky talking about a lot of things. So if you enjoyed this sort of scratching the surface conversation, then head over there and listen to these guys talk about everything, because as we talked about, again, it's not just BMWs. Obviously that's where kind of Evolve started with BMWs, but they do everything now: Audi, Porsche, Lamborghinis even, you name it, and they've pretty much done it. So thanks, mate, really appreciate it.
Thank
yeah,
you.
looking forward to getting this out on the road. He joined me a few days later. I thought I'd take some time in the car with the new intake before I talk about what it's like. But before we do that, I just want to mention the fact that I've had a new back box put on this car from Miltech for the Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's actually their titanium back box. So I'm still running the same full system with the little sort of mid resonator silencer thing that they put in that was very handy. But they've just changed the back box from their stainless system to their titanium system, which I believe is about 9 kilos lighter. But something to point out, now this is a prototype system, it's a testing system, but because of the titanium, titanium doesn't need to be as thick as the stainless, and it actually produces a slightly different tone. And what it does bring back is a bit more of that drone that the original full system had. So just bear that in mind. Obviously the production version of it might be slightly different, but titanium has got a different resonance, especially when it's a slightly thinner sidewall essentially. So you've got a bit more sound under load and a bit more of the pops and cracks, although of course they're not happening now because things never happen on camera. But anyway, let's get back to the intake. Well, we know it looks amazing, there is no denying that whatsoever, and you could argue that they're worth their money just for the looks, although unfortunately you don't see them a lot of the time because the bonnet's closed. But just knowing that that's there, being able to show your friends, your petrolhead friends, is just such a lovely bit of kit, especially with the Hexon engine brace. Just all goes so well together. Suddenly my engine bay looks like it should in a 90 grand car, and not like it did where there's just horrible sort of metal bracing and with horrible welds and a very plasticky looking intake system, which is very run-of-the-mill mass production, if you like. I talked briefly earlier on about how the one on my M2 competition, well, the instantaneous pickup you get from it obviously gives you a lot more performance. Now I think Eventuri claim that you do get extra horsepower, and I would not deny that on my M2 competition. I've never put it on a rolling road or a dyno, so I couldn't tell you exactly, but when I do drive a stock car back to back, my one definitely feels a bit punchier. And there's two reasons for that. One is outright horsepower and outright torque, and the other is just that initial pickup. And the system in this, straight away, the initial pickup is completely different. And in fact, my M1 button, well, I have the throttle sensitivity or the engine mapping in Sport Plus, because this is an X-Drive car. My M1 is four-wheel drive Sport, so it's still essentially all-wheel drive. And I like the throttle to be as sensitive as possible, because these S58s do lack a bit of that low-down torque. We're just stuck behind 2 horsepower and a bicycle, although I don't think horses are 1 horsepower, are they? I know that's weird, but I believe they're actually a fair amount more than 1 horsepower. Always be nice and quiet and respectful around horses. So the other thing is pickup, and this car has so much pickup now, and in fact so much so that I've knocked Sport Plus down to Sport in my M1 mode, because Sport Plus, out of a corner like this, I'll touch the throttle and it was just flying forward. And that's because all of a sudden these intakes are throwing air into the engine. I mean, the injectors and the fuel pumps in these are massive and capable of 1,000 horsepower, the stock ones. The intakes aren't, they're really restricted, but they're not now, not with the Eventuri intake. They're just throwing football pitch size air into the engine, and as a result it just picks up so quickly. It's just down the road before you know it, and it's such a nice sensation. It's a nice feeling, and a lot of those low down torque issues that I've talked about many times with the S58 have more or less gone. Obviously it doesn't change the engine fundamentally, and this engine does lack that low down torque, but it allows it to pick up better because the turbo starts spooling quicker, everything starts going quicker, everything goes into motion faster, if that makes sense. And it just feels, even now, 4th gear at 20 miles an hour, the urgency, just in sport throttle mapping, the urgency is there so much quicker than it was with a stock intake. So that's two things. We've got very good looking engine bay and much better pickup essentially, which gives this car a lot more usability. The next thing to talk about is the intake sound. Now obviously my car has got that exhaust that we've talked about. It is quite loud, and it kind of dominates the cabin most of the time. But that intake system, well, we're now in a national speed limit section. Listen, I really hope that that microphone is picking that up, because it's so hard to film intake sound. Exhaust sound, well, it's very bassy and the mic picks up without any issue, but intake sound, open the windows, maybe pick it up a bit better then. So we'll just get over this bridge, slow things down a little bit. Okay, so 4th gear at 25 miles an hour. Here we go. Oh, did you hear that? Let's do it again. Let's do 20 miles an hour. Listen, there we go. In short, loving it. Just about to take this car over to France and the Alps, and yeah, I think the timing is perfect. I'm really happy with how this car is now. Eventuri intake, the Hexan engine brace just looks amazing. The quality of that, the way it was delivered in that beautiful box, it's just really, really nice. Obviously the Miltech exhaust now with the titanium back box. The verdict's out about whether I prefer the stainless or the titanium. Obviously in a few weeks time I'll be able to tell you that, because I've done a few thousand miles in it. My Royal steering wheel, the Edelweiss wheels, which just, I think they look absolutely stunning, and I know that 85%, 90% of you guys do as well. It's just unreal. We'll actually demonstrate an overtake here. This is 3rd gear. Normally I'd go down to 2nd, and that's the speed limit-ish. I mean, it's unreal. It's really made this car usable. That's 5th gear again through there. Yeah, it's just found this missing low down torque, but hasn't found it. Like I said, it's just helping with everything. But anyway, so looks good, gives us a lot more pickup, which in turn makes the car feel a lot more powerful and torquey. So that's two things. and the third we'll do it one more time because it's just mega. Slow things down. Wow, that car that we overtook must be doing about 10 miles an hour. Windows open again. I know this is really sad, but it just sounds so good. 20 miles an hour, 4th gear, foot on the floor, and here they come. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot to Imran, Bilal, Evolve and Eventuri for fitting that amazing intake and for fitting that Hexon brace. Really, really, really pleased with it all, and I just can't wait to take it to the Alps now. Till the next video, take it easy, and I'll see you then. Cheers.